If you had told me a year ago that my biggest heartbreak wouldn't come from a man or a breakup, but from my own family and the job I had sacrificed almost a decade of my life for, I would have laughed. Not a cute laugh, a tired, sarcastic, please don't add another problem to my plate laugh. Because at 34, living in Portland, Oregon, juggling a demanding corporate job while raising my daughter Avery on my own, I already felt like life had me by the throat. I didn't think things could get worse. But the truth is, exhaustion makes you blind. Blind to manipulation, blind to red flags, blind to the people quietly lining up to benefit from your downfall. My story didn't start with one explosion. It started with 1,000 tiny cuts, the kind you don't notice until you're bleeding out. And the day everything collapsed, it looked painfully normal. I overslept by 12 minutes. Avery forgot her backpack. My coffee tasted burnt, and traffic on I-84 was at a full stop because some guy decided his brakes were optional. Just another Thursday. Until it wasn't. Let me paint you a picture of my life before the storm hit. My job. I was a senior project manager at a healthcare tech company. Sounds important, right? And honestly, it was. I handled multi-million-dollar accounts, hospital network integrations, compliance audits, and crisis calls no one else wanted to touch. I was the fixer. The one leadership bragged about in meetings, the one they trusted with last-minute emergencies. But here's the part they never admitted. Being the fixer means everyone gets to break things without consequences, because they know you will repair them. My home life. My daughter Avery is the one good thing I never regret. She's 7, has curls that never stay brushed, and believes mac and cheese is a personality trait. But raising a child alone means every plate you spin is yours. Work, school drop-offs, lunch boxes, bills, laundry, birthday parties you forgot to RSVP to, it all falls on you. My family. This is where the story starts to sting. My mom treats guilt like a second language. My brother Lucas sees me as a personal ATM. My younger sister Paige floats through life like a soap bubble, pretty, delicate, and someone else always keeps her from popping. And me? I was the responsible one, the achiever, the strong one, which really just meant I was the one they all leaned on until I crumbled. I didn't know it then, but my entire family had quietly agreed on a narrative behind my back. Harper can handle anything. Harper doesn't need help. Harper will figure it out. And when someone believes you don't need help, they stop offering it. Then they start taking more. Then they start expecting more. By the time my breaking point arrived, I had been running on fumes for so long that exhaustion felt like my personality. The email that started everything. It was a Monday morning when I saw the email that shifted the floor beneath me. Subject: Please welcome our new senior project manager, Paige Lane. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Lane isn't an uncommon last name. But then I opened the email and saw the photo. My sister. My younger sister. Smiling, posing with a latte, wearing a blazer she definitely borrowed from me 2 years ago and never returned. My breath left my body. The office celebration. When I arrived at the office, everyone was buzzing. Balloons, cupcakes, a banner that said, "Welcome, Paige!" And there she was, hugging my coworkers, shaking hands with leadership, laughing like she'd been there forever. When she spotted me, she squealed and ran over. "Harper, I can't believe we get to work together. Isn't this perfect?" I stared at her, stunned. "When did you even apply for this job?" She giggled. "Oh, I didn't. Diane reached out to me. She said I'd be great at what you do." I blinked. What exactly did she say? That you've been overwhelmed, and they're looking to redistribute responsibilities. She said I'd be helping with your accounts while you shift into a more strategic role. Strategic. Corporate code for, we're phasing you out but don't want a lawsuit. The first red flag. Training Paige was a disaster. She didn't understand timelines, didn't know what HIPAA compliant meant, mixed up acronyms, asked the same questions 5 times. I documented everything, just in case, but Diane brushed it off. "She's new," she said. "She'll learn." Except she wasn't learning. She was taking. And my boss was feeding her information that should have stayed with me. The family dinner that made my skin crawl. 3 weeks later, my mom invited everyone over for dinner. I thought it was just a regular family meal. It wasn't. The moment I sat down, my mom announced proudly, "Paige told us she might be promoted soon. Isn't that incredible?" I choked on my water. "Promoted to what?" Paige flipped her hair. "Well, Diane said I'm doing really well, and once the transition is complete..." "Transition to what, Paige?" She shrugged, trying to look innocent. "I mean, managing some of your accounts? Maybe stepping into more leadership?" Lucas snorted. "Honestly, it makes sense. You've been stressed out and dropping the ball lately." I stared at him. "What ball have I dropped?" "Well," he said, "you're just tired. Mom says so all the time." My mom nodded sympathetically, like she was doing me a favor. "You really should let Paige take some weight off your shoulders. You've always been a bit overwhelmed." I felt the world tilt. They weren't just observing, they were participating. The presentation theft. The final straw didn't come quietly. It came during a major client meeting, one I had prepared weeks for, rehearsed endlessly, lost sleep over. When I walked into the conference room, my stomach dropped. Paige was standing at the front of the room, cheerful and confident, clicking through slides I created. My name was gone, replaced by, prepared by, Paige Lane. My throat burned. During Q&A, a client asked a technical question. Paige answered confidently and completely incorrectly. All eyes shifted to me. I stepped in and corrected it, but Diane shot me a warning look. Afterward, Diane pulled me aside. "Harper, you need to stop diminishing your sister. This competition energy is unprofessional." I stared at her in disbelief. She presented my work, with her name on it. Diane smiled politely. "It's part of the handoff process. You can't hold on to everything forever." That sentence was the first time I realized they weren't helping Paige grow. They were grooming her to replace me. And my own family was cheering them on. I reached my limit the night my sister sent me a Slack message that read, "Can you upload all your SOPs, client workflows, and system cheat sheets? Diane needs everything centralized." Everything. Every document I created. Every shortcut I discovered. Every refined process that gave me my edge. This wasn't support. This was a transfer of power, a silent heist, a slow, polite form of identity theft. For the first time in my adult life, I did not comply. I stared at the glowing computer screen and whispered, "No, not anymore." I felt something in my chest harden. Not anger, not fear, but clarity. If I kept participating in my own replacement, I'd wake up one morning without a job, without savings, without health care for my daughter, and with my whole family saying, "Well, Harper, you were struggling anyway." I closed my laptop slowly, deliberately, and I made the decision that would change everything. I would stop being the woman everyone used. Stop being the employee they drained dry. Stop being the sister who cleaned up chaos. Stop being the daughter who fixed everyone's problems but her own. I decided to give Paige what she wanted, but only the pieces that wouldn't hurt me. I'd train her, but not fully, not dangerously, not to the point she could weaponize my knowledge. And while I did that, I would quietly build my exit. Not an emotional exit, a strategic one. Because if they wanted to play corporate chess, they were about to learn that the quiet, tired, responsible one knew how to think 10 moves ahead. People assume revenge is loud. They think it's screaming, slamming doors, flipping tables. But the truth? Real revenge is quiet, patient, calculated, corporate. The night I refused Paige's request for my entire internal system playbook, I stayed awake until 2 a.m. crafting a plan. Not to destroy her, not even to humiliate Diane, but to protect myself and my daughter from the collapse they were engineering behind my back. Step 1. Give Paige just enough rope. I decided I'd train her, but only on the visible parts of my job. How to run morning stand-ups, how to answer client emails, how to schedule meetings, how to upload files to compliance folders. All surface-level tasks, nothing that revealed the machinery beneath the workflow. I kept all the intellectual property in my head. How to negotiate hospital billing cycles, how to decode physicians' shorthand, how to fix broken integration in minutes, how to rebuild timelines in emergencies, how to translate technical jargon into client language. Those pieces were mine. Step 2. Build a clean paper trail. I started documenting everything. Every Slack message Paige sent me. Every time Diane assigned my tasks to her. Every instance they used the words handoff, transition, or shadowing. Every meeting where credit for my work mysteriously shifted to Paige. I emailed everything to a private folder only I could access. Not because I planned to sue them, not yet, but because people who quietly replace you often rewrite history later. I wasn't letting them rewrite mine. Step 3. Rebuild my resume at midnight. While Avery slept, I updated my LinkedIn for the first time in 4 years. I listed real metrics. Reduced onboarding failures by 22%. Increased hospital integration efficiency by 37%. Led 11 major accounts totaling $14 million in revenue. Trained 6 junior managers who became team leads. Things I had never taken credit for before. Because women, especially exhausted working moms, we rarely brag. We rarely claim our wins. We think we're just doing our job. Not anymore. Not for me. Step 4. Contact recruiters, quietly. I messaged 3 recruiters specializing in healthcare tech. Within 48 hours, all 3 responded. One asked for my portfolio. Another scheduled a call. A third said, "Your experience is in high demand right now." It was the first time in months I felt like I wasn't drowning. Step 5. Protect Avery. If I lost my job suddenly, without severance, I needed a safety net for her. I reviewed my budget, cut subscriptions, paused online shopping, sold a few items I didn't need. My plan wasn't just about revenge, it was about survival. Tension at work thickened like fog. Paige's competence problem. Paige was drowning, but she didn't know it. She'd sit in meetings scribbling notes she didn't understand. She'd ask me to explain again how compliance audits worked. She'd send emails riddled with errors, promising timelines she didn't grasp. Clients started reaching out to me directly again. One hospital admin wrote, "Can you please clarify what your colleague attempted to explain? We're unsure what was meant." I forwarded it to Diane, highlighting Paige's mistake. Diane replied curtly, "Harper, stop undermining your sister. Redirect clients to her." Redirect. As if I wasn't responsible for the entire account. As if damage to our relationship with a $4.2 million partner wasn't my problem. Meanwhile, my family fueled the fire. At home, things were no better. My mom treated Paige like a prodigy. Lucas hinted I was jealous. Paige bragged nonstop about how everyone at work loves her energy. At one Sunday dinner, my sister said loud enough for the entire table, "Diane told me Harper's finally letting go of control issues. She said I'm stepping up beautifully." The table nodded. Nobody looked at me. That was the moment I knew they were fully invested in my replacement, emotionally, socially, even financially. If Paige secured my job, my family saw it as a win, a victory, stability for her, and my burnout, my exhaustion, my single motherhood, that was just unfortunate timing. It happened on a Wednesday, a day that started like any other train wreck. The 9 a.m. meeting, Diane called for an urgent strategy session. When I entered the conference room, Paige was already sitting at the head of the table, my usual seat. 3 VPs were there too. Something was off. Diane cleared her throat. "As you know, we've been evaluating team efficiencies. With budget shifts, we're considering restructuring." Restructuring. In corporate, that word is never good. I folded my hands calmly. "What kind of restructuring?" Diane exchanged a look with Paige. "We're considering promoting Paige into a senior oversight role." I held still. "And my role?" A VP stepped in. "We're exploring whether your skill set fits better in a consultant-type capacity. Lower workload, more support." Lower workload, lower pay, lower value. Paige beamed like she'd already been coronated. But then I saw something else in the room. Hesitation. The VPs didn't look convinced. They weren't nodding. They weren't celebrating. They were watching, waiting, evaluating me. Something inside me shifted. I sat up straighter. My voice sharpened. "With respect," I said, "Paige is not qualified to lead these accounts. She has not completed the required compliance training. She has no integration experience. She's failed 3 client communications this month." Paige gasped. "Why would you embarrass me like that?" "Facts aren't embarrassing," I said, "unless you ignore them." The VP's eyes widened slightly. Diane's mask cracked. "Harper, you're out of line." I leaned forward. "No, Diane. What's out of line is grooming my replacement without transparency. What's out of line is having my sister present my work. What's out of line is reassigning my responsibilities Without HR approval. Silence. Pin drop silence. The VPs exchanged glances, this time nervous ones. My voice dropped lower, steady as steel. And if you want to restructure my role, we will be documenting every step with HR. I watched Diane's face drain of color. That was when everyone in the room finally understood. I was not going quietly. I left that meeting and executed the rest of my plan. Step 1, HR meeting. I booked a same-day appointment. I walked in with 47 screenshots, 12 emails, 4 client complaints, documentation of task reassignment, notes on pages errors, evidence of Diane mismanaging my position. HR's eyes widened. This is extensive. Yes, I said, because this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a coordinated effort to replace me. They took everything seriously, far more seriously than Diane expected. Step 2, recruiter call. That afternoon, I had an interview. It went beautifully. Hospital network integrations? They loved my experience. Crisis resolution? They practically drooled. Adaptability as a single mom who carried dysfunctional teams on my back? They were impressed. Harper, the hiring manager told me, we've needed someone like you for years. A feeling washed over me, one I hadn't felt in forever. Belief, confidence, value. Step 3, give Paige the wheel. The next day, I did exactly what Diane claimed she wanted. I stepped back, fully. I let Paige run the 2 p.m. systems meeting. She crashed and burned spectacularly. Clients complained directly to leadership. Integration misfired. An entire deadline was missed. Diane panicked. A VP called me. Harper, can you step in to fix this? I said calmly. I'm afraid I can't. I was told to redirect responsibilities. Silence. Then, we'll call you back. It felt like standing up straighter than I had in months. Within 1 week, Diane was removed from supervisory duties. HR cited protocol concerns. Paige was quietly reassigned to an entry-level project coordinator role. Not fired, but stripped of authority. She texted me frantically. Harper, please talk to them. This is humiliating. I didn't respond. I received a job offer. Higher salary, fully remote, better benefits for Avery, a signing bonus big enough to pay off a chunk of debt. And my current company? They panicked. They offered a raise, a new title, reduced workload, flexible hours, support staff. But their offer came too late. They didn't value me when it mattered. They valued me only when I threatened to leave. I accepted the new job, not because they needed me, but because I finally understood my worth. My last day at the company felt nothing like I expected. There was no dramatic exit, no shouting match, no throwing papers in the air while Beyoncé played in the background. I walked in at 8:45 a.m., holding a cardboard box I bought from Target, and quietly packed my things, my mug, my desk plant, the ceramic owl Avery made in first grade. People hovered around me, unsure whether to speak. Some whispered, "I'm so sorry." Others asked cautiously, "Are you really leaving?" But there were no accusations, no bitterness, no rivalry. Because deep down, everyone knew the truth. I had carried that team, and without me, the cracks were finally visible. Diane avoided me entirely. Her office door stayed closed all morning. At one point, a VP knocked on her door and whispered something urgent. She didn't reply. Her consequences weren't my revenge. They were simply the natural result of removing the person who covered her mistakes for years. Paige tried to approach me. She caught me in the hallway, tears already forming. Harper, I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't mean for you to leave. I just wanted to... To what? I asked. Get a foot in the door? Or take everything I built? She shook her head frantically. No, Diane told me you were burned out. She said you wanted someone to step in. She told me you supported this. I thought I was helping. Her voice cracked, and for a moment, I almost believed her. But then she said the one sentence that proved she still didn't get it. She promised me I'd get your job eventually. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I closed my box and straightened up. That's the difference between us, Paige. You thought a job could be handed to you. I know what it costs to earn one. She reached toward me. Can we fix this? I stepped back. Not today. Maybe not ever. Not until you understand the damage you helped create. I walked away without looking back. And it didn't break me. It freed me. Walking out. When I finally hit the elevator button and stepped inside, it felt surreal. For 7 years, that building had swallowed every version of me. The hard-working version, the overwhelmed version, the people-pleasing version, the version that never said no. The elevator doors closed, and for the first time, I felt like I wasn't shrinking. I was expanding. Starting the new job felt like coming home to myself. On day 1, the onboarding director looked at my resume and said, "You're impressive, Harper. We're lucky to have you." No agenda, no hidden motive, just recognition. My new manager, a woman named Alana, had 2 kids of her own. Our first conversation wasn't about deliverables. It was about boundaries. She said, "We don't work past 5 p.m. unless something is literally on fire. I mean that." I nearly cried on the spot. Life with Avery changed, too. With my new salary and remote schedule, I could take her to school without rushing. I could make pancakes on Tuesday mornings. I could attend school events without begging for permission. I could breathe. She noticed the difference immediately. One night, she crawled into my lap and said, "You smile more now. I like it." I held her tighter than ever, because children always know when you're suffering, even when you try to hide it behind a cheerful voice and a tucked-in shirt. Leaving was not the end. Not for me, not for them. What happened to Paige? 6 weeks after my exit, word got around that Paige was transferred again. Not promoted, not even lateral, demoted. She couldn't maintain my accounts. Clients complained. Systems malfunctioned. Deadlines slipped. The same executives who once entertained the idea of replacing me realized that Paige simply wasn't equipped. She texted me once more. "I wish I understood everything you handled. I thought it looked easier than it was." I didn't reply. Some lessons have to be lived, not explained. What happened to Diane? HR launched a team culture evaluation, which is corporate vocabulary for "we're removing someone quietly." She lost her director title, lost her corner office, lost her authority to hire and fire. Eventually, she voluntarily resigned, which we all know means pushed out. What happened to me? I grew. Not immediately, not gracefully, sometimes through tears, through self-doubt, through exhaustion that lingered from years of overwork. But I grew. I went to therapy. I learned to say no without apologizing. I learned that rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. I learned that being strong does not mean being silent. And I learned that sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is remove herself from a table where respect is no longer served. 6 months after leaving my old job, I found myself in a completely different headspace. I wasn't tired all the time anymore. I had energy again. I had weekends again. I had the emotional bandwidth to play with Avery instead of collapsing on the couch. I reconnected with friends. They all made the same comment. "You seem lighter." They were right. I had set down years of invisible weight. I bought myself something small but symbolic, a gold bracelet, engraved with, "Not theirs." Not their backup plan, not their stress sponge, not their emotional dumping ground, not their stepping stone. I belonged to myself again. If you're a woman watching this, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a worker, a caretaker, someone who's been holding everything together while everyone around you pulls you apart, let me say this clearly. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are not required to shrink. You are not required to stay silent. You are not required to let someone else benefit from your exhaustion. You are not required to make yourself small so they can feel big. Maybe your workplace takes advantage of you. Maybe your family guilt trips you. Maybe you've been told you're strong enough to carry burdens nobody else wants. But strength is not the same as sacrifice, and sacrifice is not the same as love. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself, for your children, for your future, is to walk away. Not to prove a point, but to reclaim your life. Because you deserve respect, rest, recognition, peace, and a chance to flourish. If no one has told you this today, let me be the one. You deserve better than the bare minimum. You deserve a life where you are not an afterthought. And you deserve to be the main character of your own story, not the supporting cast in someone else's. Don't wait for a breaking point like I did. Choose yourself now. Choose your future now. Choose your peace now. Because sometimes walking away is not losing, it's winning. Quietly, powerfully, brilliantly. And when you finally step into the life you were meant to have, you'll look back and wonder why you ever let anyone convince you otherwise.